Hello, my name is Anwen, and today I'm going to be talking about today's fashion trends that consist of the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, and how that has implemented today's fashion. Clothing trends cycle from all different periods of time and can resurface at any given time. Have you ever noticed yourself wearing a clothing item that looks like what your parents used to wear? Well, that's because you probably are. Fashion of the past decades is coming into trend during the present time of fashion. We can see how fashion trends keep changing and are just the same trends from the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. Today, I would like to talk about the 80s fashion trends, the 90s fashion trends, the early 2000s fashion trends, and above all, about how all these decades have implemented today's fashion trends. As you can see on my first slide, I have different fashion eras from the 80s, the 90s, and 2000s. And in these pictures consist of some things that have trended during those times. When you go to the mall, have you ever seen fashion trends from the 80s? Fashion trends have been circling in time for years now. Some fashion trends that we can see that are trending right now from the 80s are really big oversized belts, really bright neon colors, as well as really cool funky prints. And all of these trends are coming back and resurfacing because these trends were really popular at the time in the 80s, and they decided to reuse the idea. Even though there's different ways that they're calling the 80s fashion and they're saying it's new fashion, it's not really new. It's the same fashion, but it's just from a past decade. When you go to the mall, have you ever seen fashion trends from the 90s? Fashion has been circling in time for years now. According to the Spartan article, we are seeing fashion trends such as loose jeans, platform shoes, claw clips, and oversized clothing. According to Spartan, teens at this age have been thrifting now to find some of these older styles and now are calling them vintage. Even though there's new terminology for these trends, we can see that the 90s has made such a big impact on the fast industry for it to come back into 2023, which is 23 years later, which is technically 2 decades ago, which is really impressive for it to still come back, which means it has made such a big impact on the fashion industry. All of these trends date back to the 90s, and these trends are now resurfacing in today's fashion in 2023. We can see this through magazines, the news, and even when you walk into a normal retail store. This trend is bringing back nostalgia, style, and innovation, and clinical nature of fashion. Another fashion trend that is in trend right now is the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, they consisted of a lot of crop tops, low-waisted jeans, bedazzled jeans, and also a lot of sequins, and a lot of just bright, fun colors were really popular during the early 2000s. Even the butterfly hair clips that you put in your hair, the claw clips, were also huge. Huge belts, baby tees, cardigans, and denim on denim was especially huge. For instance, people would wear like a denim top and then a denim skirt or even overalls. That is still denim on denim. That was such a huge trend. And you can start to see these trends now in Urban Outfitters, PacSun, and even Tilly's. All of these retail brands always try to stay up on today's fashion trends. So if you don't know where to look to find what is trending right now, definitely go into one of those retail stores and it'll be right in front of you. You'll see all the fashion trends that are trending right now and how past decades are being used. All of these fashion trends are making a comeback for the early 2000s and are being shown today in so many ways. These reoccurring trends are being shown in the latest fashion magazines or even on the runway shows, or even in social media when people do get ready with me's or hauls. You can see all of these trends that are coming back. Overall, All of these trends have had such a big impact on the fashion industry, such as the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. Without these decades and these fashion trends, we wouldn't be able to have them right now. If the 80s or the 90s didn't do them, we would be at a loss, and we wouldn't be able to have these amazing trends that have implemented our fashion so much. And by be able to reuse and reinventate new ideas is such a cool new experience. And I really like how the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s are becoming so big in today's fashion. Overall, all of these have had such a big impact on today's fashion, and we are able to see that through social media, going into retail stores, and in magazines. Thank you for listening.